Afternoon, everyone. Well, we're here back for our weekly chat about Sony rumours or news, latest news, what's in my camera bag, and also I'd like to share my latest shoot as well. So we've got a few things that I want to discuss with you today. I'm obviously also going to talk about some of the flaming that's going on at the moment with the A9. It's just been crazy. But you know, it's just happened over the last week or so. It's just got to the point of being ridiculous. So I want to talk about that as well, and we'll probably start off talking about that at the beginning, because I have an opinion about how I think that's been played out. So we'll have a talk about that as well. We've got a few now watching. If you can, guys, give us a thumbs up because we'll try and get as many people as we can involved in the discussion. I've just posted also a video the other day showing my work because I know Jason Lanier was discussing things about people reviewing gear and talking about things who haven't got any portfolio. And I'm not going to talk about who those photographers are online, but I just wanted basically to throw that right out from the beginning that you can sort of see my work straight away, and it's extensive work. So hopefully that you like what you see. I mean, if you don't, it's obviously a different style, but I have posted that to basically stop doubters straight away, saying that, you can't use Sony in a professional manner, which I think is a complete joke. And I wanted to put that out there to sort of show that to people that you can certainly use the Sony gear, no matter what it is, for professional work. It's more about the person behind the camera. So these people flaming Sony out there saying you can't use it for professional work or no professional would use the gear is just ludicrous. So I wanted to sort of show you that. So you please, if you can, go back and watch that because I think it is quite an extensive portfolio. Obviously, it's only part of my work. I had to leave so much work out. It was actually hard choosing the images that I put in. But I just sort of wanted to show that. So let's start talking about the A9 overheating issues that we've seen online all week coming up. Danny, the one camera guy, who I actually really like, I watch all of his channels with Jason, his discussions. He's have an issue with overheating of his Sony A9. He's put an update about it this morning on his YouTube channel that you can go and watch if you like. He's talking about the Sony have got in contact with him and they believe that overheating issue was not normal, that they think it's basically isolated, and they're now going to send him a loan unit that he can test to see if that issue shows up again. I think looking at what's actually been going on, I do believe it's an isolated issue. There are some people talking online about this issue, but to be honest, most people, if you're looking at things being reviewed, and this is where a lot of this comes up as being an issue, the only people that usually whinge about something are the ones that do have an issue. The 90% of the people that actually have that hardware that don't have any issues at all never mention it. And that's why you've got to take this in context, that just because there's 2 or 3 people or whatever saying that this camera has got an issue, it's immediately slammed in the media. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous because if you look at it, the number of people that are actually saying that camera has got an issue has been minute compared to the number of people that are saying they haven't had issues at all. So I think it's totally blown out of proportion. Now, I'm meant to be getting my camera, well, the official release date is tomorrow here in Australia. I'm not sure whether I'll get it tomorrow, but I've got it on pre-order. But I've got a feeling I probably won't get it till next week. I have a wedding on Saturday, so I'm hoping I can get it tomorrow because I'd love to use it. But I don't think I'll actually get it tomorrow. But being winter here, I probably wouldn't face that overheating issue anyway. But all the Sony cameras that I've had, I did have initial overheating with my Sony a6300. When I first got that camera did overheat. So that was an issue. But I sent that back to Sony and they replaced it for me, and the new camera that I got after that had no overheating issues at all. So since that time, I haven't had any overheating issues at all, using it for the way I use it. Now, I will say that they can overheat, and even the Sony a6500 or the A7R2 will overheat if you record 4K video for something like an hour. I will get it overheating, but I don't use it in that context. I'm actually using it for short bursts, recording for 2 or 3 minutes here and there. If I'm recording something that's very, very long, like for instance, if I'm recording the wedding ceremony or speeches, I'm not going to be recording that in 4K because the file sizes is ridiculous. and I just don't need that recorded in 4K. So if I'm recording those, it will be in 1080p, and I've never ever had, no matter how long I record, an issue with recording in 1080p. And to be honest, I haven't had any issues with the A6500 and the A7R2 recording in 4K either. So I've had no problem with that in that context. So I just sort of wanted to talk to you about that I think at this stage it's probably blown out of proportion. I will test it myself when I get it late this week or early next week, I'm hoping, and then I can give you my own findings on how it works for me. Clearly, Danny has had an issue, but like anything out there, any electronics, you can have issues. I mean, the Nikon, I think, was it the D600, had to be returned because of oil that was splattering inside the camera itself. And when I had Nikon, I had to send that camera back to be fixed. So other cameras have these issues as well, but for some reason, people are terrified of this A9. That's why they're slamming it so much, in the fact that I think that they're terrified of Sony and where Sony's going. That to me proves that Sony's doing the right thing, because all of these other people, we have a thing in Australia here where it's Holden versus Ford. They're car manufacturers. They hate one another and they're always arguing against one another. And the same thing's happening here with Nikon and Canon shooters, who are basically slamming the A9 and saying ridiculous things about that camera without even having it. Now, like I said, I get it next week, so I'll certainly let you know how I feel about it when I get it next week as well. Just let me check. Is it Fellaini? I think it's Fellaini. Hart said, I have the A9 and it's been nothing but great. And these are mostly the reports, Fellaini, that most often the people that aren't having issues don't say anything. And I used to be in Apple support for a while, and I know that when you were looking at things online, basically anything that ever happened that was a problem was listed online. The millions of people that didn't have problems, nothing was said. So the people having problem was such a small part of that. But for some reason, the trolls have immediately gone onto this and started slamming Sony. And I've never ever seen anything like the hate that I've seen for this camera. The things that are going online at the moment are absolutely crazy, with people calling people liars. Danny was accused of being a liar because he said the camera was heating and things like that. I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, guys, this has to stop. Clearly, we just should be getting back to shooting, concentrating on what we do well, and not worrying about all these stupid issues that people are bringing up. Now, Danny did have an argument, and what he said was right. He obviously has an issue with his camera, and that probably will be fixed. Sony have contacted him, so clearly there's grounds there where Sony are probably going to replace that camera with another camera. Most people that I've talked to about it have said they've had no issues at all. Like Fellaini has said up there that he's had nothing but great results with it. I know Michael has also said to me that he's had nothing but great outcomes using the camera as well. So unfortunately in Australia we haven't got the release date yet, so it's going to be released in a few days. That's just what I wanted to put out, about what's sort of going on. People that are sort of challenging people at the moment, saying Sony can't work. There's a few people, I'm not going to mention who these people are in America at the moment. You'll know who they are. Putting out things saying Sony is no good, that, the cameras are no good, professionals won't use Sony gear. Well, I'll put it out there as well. If anyone would like to challenge me, for instance, and I'm a Sony shooter, if anyone would like to challenge me, I'm open to being challenged. I've got nothing to hide, and I'll film it on YouTube if that's what you'd like to do. And we'll film it because I'm confident in the gear that I use. And that's why I posted that video that I posted the other day, to show what my work is capable of actually showing. So, if put your money where your mouth is, these people, look, just stop slamming it, get out and start shooting. I'm sorry about ranting, but I'm just a little bit over this, trolls. You wouldn't believe just the hate that I get also, that I have to delete, even off my side as well. Clearly, Sony is professional gear, and it can be used in a professional context, guys. So don't let anyone ever say that you can't. It's just a little bit annoying. But let me know how you feel about that. Let me know in the comments down below, and also, chime in the live chat to, sort of say what you feel. But I know some of you also have issues, like sometimes I've had people talking about Jason Lanier, and I've found Jason Lanier to be a very honest guy, and his work speaks for itself. and people are challenging him as well. And I just think it's not good, guys. Just get out there and start shooting. Let's get back to being photographers and not worrying about this hardware so much. And let's stop slamming people for using other gear. I don't care what cameras people use. I came from Nikon. There was nothing wrong with Nikon, but it just didn't suit me when I started to get a bit older. The weight held me down. But let's get back out there and start shooting again, guys. I've got nothing against Fuji. I think Fuji has fantastic gear as well, and I'd love to shoot with Fuji. I just haven't at this stage, but I've certainly got nothing against Fuji, and I've got nothing against Canon. So anyway, let's move on. I'm just going to read a couple of comments up here, what a couple of people are saying. Nifty5 said, I love it so far. So this is another person with the A9. It has warmed up while I've been shooting in silent shooting. And look, it's probably going to warm up. I mean, the other issue is too that if the warning icon comes on, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually going to shut down. Now, I think you'll probably find that Sony will come out with a firmware update probably to address all this. That actual icon may be a little bit too sensitive, but we'll see how it goes. Simon Bear said, I'd like to see lots of wedding work with the A6500 versus Fuji X-T2. Yeah, that will be interesting, Simon, too. I've used my A6500 in weddings a lot. Probably the only issue for me with why I never sort of considered Fuji when I moved over to the Sony system was because I like full frame so much. So that's probably why I never moved over. And also, I think these A6500 as well is even a larger sensor than what the Sony Fuji system has. But clearly, from what I've seen, the Fuji tends to have beautiful images, and their lenses are sharper than probably anything out there. So they certainly seem to have a really good system. And plus, their support for their older cameras is amazing. The way they release firmware later on has been outstanding. I just wish Sony would do that. Delta Dave said, let's get out there and start shooting. Bingo. And I totally agree with you, Delta Dave. Let's just get out and start shooting. Let's sort of stop this rubbish. Let's just give Sony credit for what they're doing. That in fact, that they're pushing Canon, they're pushing Nikon, they're pushing Fuji to make better cameras. And let's just get out there and start shooting. Simon Bear said they both have APS-C. Yes, they do. I think, does the Fuji have the same size as the A6500? I think it is. Yeah, I think it is actually. It's just not full frame, is it, Simon? So what I want to do is we're just going to have a look at some news because I've got some interesting things to show you guys because I've got some great stuff that I actually want to discuss with you. Because if you're interested in this, Dave Dugdale is a really good person to actually follow. If you have ever followed him, he talks a lot about color management. And the interesting thing is he's spent a long, long time. He came from Canon and he's actually moved over to Sony for a number of reasons. And if you go back and look at Dave Dugdale's site, you'll actually see where he talks about why he switched and things like that. But one of the issues that he had was color. And that's what a lot of people will say, that Canon has the best color. But he has successfully, he believes, matched the Sony cameras to the Canon profiles that are actually put out. And I think he's using the color checker that I showed you a couple of weeks ago. So basically, if you want to go onto his site, and if you look at Dave Dugdale, you'll find this. He's got a course now. It's $29. Now, he hasn't paid me to say this. I just got the link to it the other day because I've bought some previous courses from him for the A6500 that he puts out for video. His courses are great. If you go to Dave Dugdale, you'll actually find it's $29 and it goes for 1 hour, 32 minutes. But you do need the color checker passport, and that's $120 to purchase to actually use this course, and he's matching it. I may buy this course to go through this because I'm really interested to see how he is matching his cameras. I've noticed now on his video cast that he puts up on YouTube, his skin tones now that he's getting is really quite beautiful. So it's just an interesting thing. If you were complaining about the Sony color and you think that you like the Canon color better, well, he has now developed a whole course to suit that. Just let me bring up a couple of questions. Just let's see. Ricardo said, I've got the A6500 with Profoto D2 and it works like a charm. Yeah, I use my Profoto, the B1s and the D1s Ricardo with the A6500, and it works amazing. The interesting thing is with the A6500, what's amazing about that is that the normal sync rate for that is meant to be 160th of a second, but I can shoot 250th. What have you found, Ricardo? Have you also got 250th with the Profoto D2? So it's going above what it actually should get, which is really amazing, I think. So I'm shooting 250th of a second with the Profotos. So if anyone else is using other flashes with that, that'll be interesting to let me know what you think about that too. The only thing is I can't use TTL or high-speed sync with the Profoto on that camera. I can with all the A7s and the A7R2, and hopefully the A9 will once they upgrade the firmware. But that's the only thing I can't use. But the Profoto works great with that camera. Fellini Hart said, shot a football match here in New York City and it was great, no buffer issues. Focused crazy fast. I bought this to pair with my A7R2 and so far loving them both. Long glass is released. It's a wrap. Yeah, that's the only thing they miss at this stage, and that'll come. They will definitely release long glass, probably sometime this year or early next year, I think. So it's going to come. They wouldn't have released a sports camera without thinking about adding glass as well. So I think that's definitely going to come. Richard said, which is better, the 24 megapixel camera for a new Sony shooter, A6500 or the A7 II? I've got both of those cameras, Richard, and I'd be getting the A6500. Only because of the technology involved. If you're in the market for a camera, I wouldn't be buying the A7 II at the moment. I'd be waiting for that. I'm going to sell one of mine. I've got two of them. The one you're looking at me now filming is with the no, that's the A6500 actually, A6300. The other one I'll show is the A7 II. But I wouldn't be purchasing that because I've got a feeling that the A7 III will come out later sometime this year, but it still will be a lot more expensive. There's nothing wrong with the A7 II, don't get me wrong, and I'm still using that in weddings. But I think the A6500, the focusing is so much better, the touch screen, the buffer clears so much faster. It's just a better all-around camera. So if I had the choice between the two, I'd get the A6500. Nifty said, last thing for now, the A9 looks great shooting my 85 midday wide open at 1600th for shutter. Yeah, and you know what? I can't wait for that. I'm really excited about being able to shoot up to 32 thousandths of a second, 1.4 wide open with my 35 or the Batis 85 1.8. That is going to make such a difference for me because you will be able to blur the background out and have that high shutter speed. So that's one thing I'm really excited about, and I can't wait to test that out. That's why I'm hoping I get it for this weekend, but I just don't think I will. And don't worry about keep throwing the questions in. It's fine. Please give me a thumbs up, guys. We'll see if we can get as many people as we can in here. Now, getting back to this news, so if you can, look up Dave Dugdale and have a look at going through that course if you can. If colour is critical to you, now remember this is only going to be for video, but if you are into video, Dave Dugdale is really into the science of colour, and have a look at that. I think you'll find it really interesting. Now, another thing, if you are planning on getting the A9, I found this the other day, and this is much better than the online than your manual that you'll get when you get the camera or even the online one. This is the Sony Help Guide. So if you Google that up there, it's helpguide.sony.net. You can see it up the top up there. If you Google that, then you can search for the ILCE-9, and you can go through and basically go through and get all these things, and it's sort of a multimedia guide that's online. It's much better than the online or your normal manual. So you can get that if you want to go through it. So if you are using a computer, you can get a much better sort of manual looking at it this way, and you can even print this off if you want to, and you can search through it to find exactly what you want and things like that. So this is a great online manual if you're looking at that. So just search for your camera up the top there, and it's the Sony Help Guide. So that's another really interesting thing. IMDA Brown said, if you had to take one camera that you own for recreational shooting, what would you take? I'd take the A6500 because it's just so light. The focus is amazing, with the 24 1.8 lens. That's what I'd be taking if I just had one camera. That's just me though. So that's another thing. Now let's have a look also. Sigma have released a official statement for their MC-11. So if you are shooting Sigma lenses with the A9, it needs a firmware update because there's a focusing issue if you've got that adapter. So if you have got it, they're saying down here that the firmware will be released. So just make sure if you are using that be aware that there is an issue with using that adapter with the A9. It does need to have an update that will be coming through soon, I believe. Another rumour that's come out just the other day, or I think is going to be true, is that there's hopefully going to be a Sigma 35 1.4. Now, when I shot Nikon, I had the 35 1.4 art lens, and I adored that lens. It was amazing. So this could be a really great thing. If Sigma do start producing FE lenses, it'll really open up a massive, well, it's a massive gain to the Sigma line, actually. That yellow line is meant to be the size of how big that lens is going to be. So it's actually really, really quite small. I don't know how they're making it that small, but it's going to be amazing. Now, obviously, I've got the Sony 35 1.4, but it is just another option. I'm not sure what pricing this is going to be, but, you know, it's a rumour that basically looks like it's going to come true. So I'm hoping that it's going to happen. Now, it's an SR5 rumour, so it looks like it's going to happen. So let me know what you guys think about that. Would you be interested in getting some Sigma FE lenses? You know, because I think it'd be an absolute amazing thing. This is an interesting article that I saw the other day. This person, now what was their name? I can't find it. It's hard to read here. I'm not sure. Oh, it's Kieran and Dignity, I think. It's hard to read that in that white area. They've just shot a wedding with his Sony A9, and they were giving examples about how they actually found the camera to go for a wedding. Now, I know there's a few people also that I've seen online that are now shooting with the A9 doing real live weddings, but I do like to see this sort of stuff coming up because you can actually read a full guide on how they thought that it went. If you're looking at this, and they were saying that it's amazing. The autofocus basically destroys their D4s that they had, and that's the camera that I had before I went Sony. So, and I love the focus on that. So they're saying the A9, because they were using D4s, or they still have, but they've got an A9, and they're saying that the Sony A9 destroys the D4 in focusing. They're also saying that overheating, reported issues. Several reports claim that the A9 is overheating when shooting in direct sunlight. They're saying obviously this is concerning. Unfortunately, it was not hot enough yesterday to test these claims for myself, so obviously they didn't have any overheating themselves. Low ISO banding, they said in their view, it's an overblown issue. It's unnoticeable at normal viewing. See, and this is the thing. This is where I get these trolls, and people doing these review sites will get an image, they'll blow it up to some ridiculous pixel peeping size and then say it's no good. What client is ever going to look like that? My clients certainly aren't ever going to do that. So again, it's mostly blown out of proportion. And sometimes you are going to get banding, especially if you're shooting at high shutter rates. But remember, here in Australia, it's 50 hertz. You're 60 in the US. So as long as you stay within the multiples of that, banding's not going to be an issue. So for instance, if I had really, really bad banding, I could shoot at 1/50th, the banding won't be there or lower. I can also double that to go to 100th, and again, banding's not going to be an issue. Guys, these people flaming about that need to wake up to themselves that it's not going to be an issue if you know how to shoot. 95 said, day one I would get the SIGs because I could get a 50 and 35. And I think they will be really popular, actually. So they're saying that, this is a really interesting part too. They're saying down here, what are the files like? Apart from the resolution, very similar to the A7R2. Files in colour and dynamic range. So they're saying it's very similar to what they had on their A7R2. High IOS performance is similar also to the A7R2, with 6400 being the upper limit of what I feel acceptable. So there you go. So they're saying they can easily, comfortably shoot to 6400. Now I'm just think that if they had any images that they showed. Yeah, so these are their actual images that they've taken with the A9, and they're actually really quite nice. So you can look through these yourself anyway. They have quite a sort of a dark look, but that's obviously their style. But it's interesting that you know, the things that they're saying that they were really, really happy. I'm not going to scroll through all of these, but, you know, that you can have a read of this article as well. It's A9 versus wedding photography. So you can have a look at that as a guide as well. Now, another article that I'd like to take you through too is this, which was on Petapixel, talking about the A9 versus the Nikon D5 and the 1DX. Now, I'm not certain about Petapixel, how reliable they are as well, being neutral, but what they're saying basically in the end of this article is that the A9 holds its own against the D5. It's very, very similar in most ISOs, or slightly better until it gets really, really high. It's definitely better in the lower ISOs. And they're saying the dynamic range is better than the 1DX. So according to these figures, Sony have made this camera exactly like they said they would, and it's holding its own against those other cameras. So there you go. So you could have a read of that article too, to see, you know, what you think about how it's going. Hi Michael, how are you? Just saw you popped on. I was just talking about you before, saying you're very happy with the camera. 6400 is the limit for event work. The color science broke down on me at 12800 indoor. So yeah, they're saying that 12800 was too much. You know what though? I very rarely ever go over 3200. So for me, if I can get 64 out of this and the image looks pretty good, I'm really, really happy with how this, is performing. But looking at this, like I said, I think Sony have clearly done what they said they were going to. And if you read that article, like I said, it's holding its own against those cameras, which are a couple of $1,000s more. So, you know, I think it's really interesting. Yeah, Michael's just chimed in and said he loves it. I'm still waiting to get my Michael, hopefully tomorrow, but I think it'll be next week. But you never know. So have a look at that article that Petapixel have got. They've got this whole thing about dynamic range, and they're saying that it does have a dynamic range of around 12, nearly 13, which is I think is good enough looking at how I've looked at them so far. Especially if you looked at that wedding images that I just showed to you a minute ago. They're saying that it's basically similar to the A7R2. As soon as I get it, I'll test it against the A7R2 with a similar shot, and I'll let you know how the dynamic range compares. But that's a pretty good article. Another one that I wanted to show you here too is if you're in Australia, a lot of you obviously in America, but if you are in Australia, there's a launch event next Monday, so please come down and see me. I'm going to be there. It's going to be in Melbourne, the one I'm going to. I'm actually going to this, and it's DigiDirect, and it's from 6 o'clock till 9 p.m. You can RSVP now, so if you are interested in actually going and seeing the A9, pop into there and I'll actually, it'd be good to see anyone come up and, we can have a chat and probably play with the camera and everything as well. I got the invite for that the other day. So if you are a local person, that is the thing to do. The other thing too is I have ordered the battery grip. I wasn't going to get it, but they had a special the other day and it was $400 Australian. It was about $100 off. Again, we're paying a lot more here for the battery grip. But I thought at that price I'll get it. Just because it was $100 off its normal price. So I have got that on pre-order. So I'm waiting on that. And I've also got 2 batteries that I'm waiting to be delivered as well. I'm having all this stuff and I haven't got the camera yet. So I'm hanging out to get the camera. But yeah, Michael has said the A9 has been delivering right on time. That's great news, Michael. Delta Dave said, please let us see you open the box up. I'll probably be so excited, Delta Dave. It's going to be, I'm the biggest geek and I may do it live. I'm going to be that excited. Now, I just wanted to sort of break away from that because I saw this thing the other day and I thought, this is so funny. I've got to show you guys because this is an article that they showed how not to photograph a wedding as a guest, because I just thought it's hilarious because I get this happening too sometimes. Now, there won't be sound playing, but you just watch this person over the left-hand side. She's doing it with her mobile phone. Obviously the bride and groom are going to be coming down the aisle. So she's going to lean through. You can see her here. I mean, poor bride. Oh my God. It's just, you think, oh no. I mean, honestly, the things that people put up with trying to get their phones, and sometimes I'm even getting them doing, with iPads, doing that exact same thing, leaning right down the aisle with iPads and stuff. And honestly, it does my head in. You just think, can't you just, watch it for the moment? So that's that. Now, what I thought I'd also want to show, I'm just going to show a couple of things that's in what's in my bag, because I'd like to go to that to show you a couple of things that I've just bought and see what you think actually about this as well. Now, let's have a look. I'm just going to have to focus this, so let me focus it. So these are the cards that I've just bought for my A9. I bought them the other day, and I've got the Sony card, which is meant to be the 300 megabytes a second, 299 megabytes right. And I've also bought the SanDisk Extreme Pro. This is the 300 megabytes, and I'm not sure what the read is on that. I think it's 260. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two cards actually compare. I'm not sure what you guys are using that have bought the A9. Obviously, the Sony is probably going to be the quickest, so I'm probably going to put this into the fast slot and then have the UHS-2 and put this into the slowest slot. I probably didn't even need to get this for the slowest slot, but I just thought I'd buy it as a second card. They were pretty similar in price, actually. So let me know what you guys are using as your cards. I'm not sure. The Sony has just come out. I could only buy it the other day. I got a message from B&H to say that it was in stock. So I bought it straight away, and it just got here yesterday. So I haven't tried them yet. So they are both waiting to be put into this camera. Like I said, it's killing me because I've just got all this gear here, and I can't actually use it until I can get the camera. So the anticipation is terrible. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you was this, because this is cool. I've got this. Now, I do a lot in my weddings of shooting... using the iPhone too, actually. Sometimes I'll shoot some B-rolls and things like that. And this is a great little adapter that, let me get my iPhone. This is a great little adapter that you can put into here, and it has the thing where you can screw it onto, your normal tripod. This is also an Arca Swiss, so it will just go straight into your Arca Swiss adapter. The other thing too is you can get an adapter that you can put this on top of your camera. So if you were using your A6500 or your A7 and you wanted to see what was on the camera using the camera wirelessly, because you can do that quite well to focus and things, you can stick that on top of your camera, and it's a great little adapter. You can also turn it so that it'll go around that way. It can go this way. It can tilt back and forth. This is a Mi Photo one. So it's actually Mi Photo, and that's what I use for one of my tripods. It's a great little adapter that I really, really like, and it's really good. And I use this all the time, and it's great for travel too. It's great to stick on a little tripod. It'll actually stand on its own, which is really, really good as well. If you need it to sort of do your sort of blogs or whatever, or take a photo and have it done that way. It's a really, really good unit. The other thing that I wanted to show you as well was, I know I got the small rig adapter. Let me just see if I can change the focus on this. I got the small rig adapter, but the other day I just bought this new grip that came out. It was a little bit hard to hold before because of the way this adapter works. This is the small rig one. Because of the way the adapter actually worked, it was quite awkward to hold. So now with this little, I think it was about $25 or something. It's not much at all, and it looks beautiful, I think. But with this on it, it just really fits in your hands so nicely. The advantage of using this is you've got all these extra areas that you can mount things onto. And you've got your HDMI attachment that you can fit on to stop the cord coming out, things like that. So it's really good. I've just taken that off at the moment. But it's a great little adapter, and it feels so nice now in my hand to hold. So I just thought I'd like to show you that too. It's really, really good. Let me just sweep back to here. So Michael has said Sony is supposed to be dropping some new SD cards. Someone inside Sony told me it's like 500 megabytes. Wow. I'm not sure how fast the actual card, or how fast it can write to that. So it's going to be interesting to see how fast they can get, Michael, whether it'll make much of a difference if it's a faster card. Does anyone know what speed the UHS-2 can actually work at? Because that'd be really interesting to know. So that's great. So I'm dying to try these things out and let you know how they're actually going. And finally, I just wanted to bring up talk about some shoots, because I love showing this with you guys, because it's an interesting thing to actually discuss and show you how I'm working. Now, some people ask sometimes how I dress, and this is a perfect example, so you can actually see how I dress. If you're looking here, this is the way that I dress with my assistant. It has my logo, actually, that's written on the back. So everyone will always come up and they're photographing that with their mobile phones, which is really, really interesting to use. And basically, it's just like advertising. I know a lot of people like to dress up in suits and things like that, but for me, it's all about being comfortable. I'm lying on the ground doing different things. And I've never had an issue. Like I said, I'm shooting high-end weddings, and I've never had an issue of anyone saying that I'm not dressed appropriately. Plus, as being the photographer. Delta Dave said, do you use any of the Sony action cams during the wedding for video? No, I don't. I use the GoPro, Dave. So I'm using that. I use the 4. So I do use those. But to be honest, since I've now found that the iPhone works so well, I'm using the iPhones a lot of the times now. So, you know, and with things like the DJI Mobile, things like that. So I'm not using that much, but I have used it before, yes. Yeah. But it's not the Sony ones. I'd like to try the Sony ones because it has in-body stabilization, which could be a real advantage. So I wanted to discuss this shoot with you because I sort of like to show you how that I'm sort of working with the brides and also the people in the actual wedding ceremony. You know, and I'm always sort of trying to get detail shots, and you can sort of see here that this is me actually shooting. I've probably got well, I'll tell you in a second which lens it is. This is the 35 1.4. So, you know, I'm just concentrating on getting details in nice and close. So you can sort of see it in that respect as well. The other thing too is this will sort of give you an idea about where I want to work and how I like to get compression and things like that shooting. You can see me down here. Obviously, my assistant Kerry is sort of standing here. She's helping out all the time. If I was running flash, she would be using that as well. But so I'm throwing out orders, and this is the sort of distance that I like to work from, and you can sort of see that this is the result that, you know, that I'm actually trying to get to blow out that background. This was the 70-200. It was at 186 mil. So it gives you an idea about, you know, how I'm shooting and the distances that I'm actually shooting at. This was another one. Again, you can sort of see where I'm shooting. I do like to get down fairly low, and I'm actually sort of making sure that I can get the flowers, which are over this area just down here, and this is the image that I'm actually gone for. Now, what I've done here too, I've focused actually on the, I've actually focused, I've got to bring this up. Oh, I'll have to go back. Sorry, guys. I was talking about the things. I better go back and show you. Let me go back because I'll actually show you on this one. I didn't realise I hadn't switched over. Yeah, so what I actually showing you is here that the angle that I'm shooting from, here that you can sort of see that I'm using the, I think it's the A6500 when I'm shooting, and this is the image that I'm sort of getting. Actually, it's this one. So you can sort of see from here that I'm also down fairly low. There was Kerry. She's assisting me. And over here, you can sort of see the results that I'm sort of getting, that it is blowing away this background. Thank you so much, Nitro5, for the donation. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. Again, you can sort of see here that I'm down very, very low, and I'm focusing on the flowers which are on the floor down here. And this is the shot that I'm getting. I like to focus on here and have them just out of focus a little bit. I take a couple of versions of this that I do, that I'll have them in focus and have these out of focus. And, you know, I vary it around, and it depends on which one that I want to actually show on the day. Again, you can sort of see me here. This is the sort of distance that I'm working at shooting with these guys. I'm actually giving them instructions about how I would like to shoot. You know, and then I'm sort of getting this sort of result. And I love to try and pose the wedding party in a fun type of way, which, you know, sort of gets them working together, that they're a little bit happy and it eases them off. And you can sort of see that I'm trying to get them to sort of sit back to back, lean on each other, just have a bit of fun, which makes it really interesting. Let me just go back and check up here. I just want to check some of these questions. Oh, Michael, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that, mate. That means the world to me. Jim Caldwell said, have watched your excellent videos for quite a while, but Just realised I had not subscribed until today. Oh, I'm glad you're on board, Jim. Long-time videographer using Sony equipment, but I'm now a proud owner of a A6500. I love that A6500. It's just amazing. Oh, thank you so much, Delta Dave and Imada Brown. Oh, God, guys, I can't thank you enough. This is just amazing. Thank you so much. Another one here that I sort of wanted to show too was down here. Again, I'm using the 70-200 f4, and this is the type of result that I'm getting from this as well. So you can see that, again, I'm trying to get the bride and the groom and one of her bridesmaids interacting. It's just a nice way to sort of get them to do. All the brides tell me that I have a great way of working with them because I make them so relaxed, and I try and make it as fun as possible and make them interacting because it takes the pressure off and makes the nerves go away because they're just being themselves. So, it's an amazing thing to just let them do that. And, try and sort of encourage that if you are trying to shoot a wedding to get that talk going amongst them, to make it so it makes it more about them having a bit of fun. And then you'll find the images are more relaxed and they become a little bit more journalistic and fun. 95, thank you so much. That's so good. Thanks, guys. I'm so appreciative. Now, I'm just going to go to the rating on this because I'd like to show you just some of the final images that have come up, just so you can sort of see what I like to give to my bride and grooms, and then we'll go to some questions. Again, I just love to show details. And you know what? One of the biggest things that you can do as a photographer is promote yourself by sharing your images. And one of the best things that you can do is to share your work to the makeup artists. And that's why I deliberately do this type of image where you're shooting the makeup. I get the bride to close her eyes so you can see the beautiful makeup that's been done. I share that on Instagram or on the makeups page, and immediately they share that and they're promoting you. So this is where you've got to try and be really smart, guys. If you're trying to get work for yourself, use other people to promote your work. And this is a fantastic way of getting your work to be shared around because immediately they share it. I don't have to do that anymore. And I'll do that with the florist. I'll do it with the cake maker, things like that. So just make sure that you always get those people's details and you share them straight away. It'll be things like this, again, where I'm showing I can share this for the makeup and I can also share this for the florist underneath here as well. So, they're really important things to do when you're sort of showing things. The other thing too is give them some different images where you're showing things from a different perspective. This is where they're having a first look. And this is a very unusual thing in Australia because not many couples do first looks. They have the English way of seeing each other in the church for the first time. So they did a first look and, show that from a different perspective as, from a far away, that you can get that sort of more dynamic look instead of it just being your typical image that you want to share. And again, too, this has got no fake backgrounds in it. This was shot. It's just being edited this way using the recovery, all pulled back. So, I like that dramatic look. So this sort of fits my style perfectly, when I'm editing. Another thing too is don't count out this sort of high key look. I'll just drag this down so you can sort of see it without that there. Don't count out the high key look of, using white space. It can also give you an amazing look as well, and it gives you something so different. Oh, Jim. Oh, that's unbelievable. Thank you so much. I can't believe this. You guys are amazing. I love you guys, seriously. I'm just appreciative of you watching me, and to get all you donating to me is just amazing. Thank you so much. Have a look like that. Like, try and get a bride that looks different. And again, you're trying to make your images look different to what the average photographer out there will do. And the bride, when I showed her this image, loves it. It's just a spontaneous moment. I've just deliberately blown out the background, but I realised I was doing that. So have a look at that, and then it'll give them something different that the bride will love, and it's something totally opposite that you can do. Again, like I was saying before, shoot a little bit differently. Shoot narrow like that, like crop in narrow, just give them something a little bit different than seeing something standard. Because the difference between that, that's okay. Oh, 90. I can't believe you guys. You're cracking me up. I just can't believe you're making all these donations. Wow. This one over here, obviously still looks nice, and that's what a lot of photographers may submit. But when you're submitting it, the point about this is that the top and the bottom in this is just not exciting. So bring the detail in. Bring them out by cropping a little bit close. And this is one of the beauties of being able to photograph with the A7R2. You can blow these images up and do some amazing cropping as well. Again, this one here, I've made impact, and I'll show you the one that's unretouched just so that you can see the difference. There's a fair bit of retouching done on this. If I go to filters off, that's the original there. So again, I've done quite a little bit of correction here. I had to stand over the road because the cars were continuously coming past here. So, I shot that deliberately knowing how I was going to retouch it. The other thing is too, I didn't like this sign that's sort of over here. Let me just bring up this so I can draw on it just to show you. There was a sign that's, don't remind me, there's this sign over here I didn't like. The other thing was too that there's areas over here that I didn't like as well. The other thing too is that clearly because I'm using the 16 to 35 at 17 mil, you will get the perspective. You can sort of see that it's coming down this area over here if you notice that it's not straight. But I had to take all that into consideration when I was doing the shot. So I had to allow for that, and then you can sort of see when I've come back to there that's the retouched one. So if I bring both up together, I can't on that. I'll have to go out of this. But so I've gone from that to that. So you can sort of see that I've retouched out that area. I've also straightened up using the tools in Photoshop to basically distort the edges and bring them back out. And I'll show how I do this one day. So that's the sort of thing that you have to sort of consider. So sometimes I am shooting to know what I can do in editing later on. The thing is, I do try and get it as right as I can in the camera, but again, with that context, I had to stand on the other side of the road, so there was no way I couldn't have that perspective unless I was using a tilt shift lens. And try and get things that are dynamic, like I was getting the boys coming out of the helicopter, and obviously the moment with the mother and her child, which I think is just beautiful. I just asked them to put the veil over, that, and also try and always make sure, because these are such big sellers, get ones where the kids are actually involved in it. I always make sure that I spend a fair bit of time getting children, because I know that those images are going to sell because they can't resist them. And, I know that pulls heartstrings. I've got kids and grandchildren myself, so I know that they're the type of images, and I know that this image is going to sell. So always consider that as well. And clearly, just go for these beautiful impact images that, that are going to give a beautiful look, and that you can share them around, and I just wanted to sort of show this to sort of show that, how I produce wedding images. So let's go over to questions, because I'm interested to know if you guys have any questions, because let's throw them up for a little bit before we end of the day. So let me know anything you're thinking, anything you'd like to know. Like I said, if you are in Australia, please come and see me next week. I'm not sure how many Australian followers I have, but I think most of you come from the States and England and stuff, but there may be a few that I see here in Australia. So if you are there, I'll see you next week. So do we have any questions, guys? Let me know what you think about all the slamming that's going on at the moment with the A9. Like I said, Danny has just put a video on this morning talking about Sony contacted him about the issue, and they're going to send him another camera that he can test. I clearly think that it's a one-off or a very rare thing that's sort of happening at the moment. I'm very excited about getting mine. So do you have any questions before we go for the day? It's been a fairly long chat. Again, if you can, give me a thumbs up too. And obviously leave some questions down below, and I can get back to you later on. Jim said, are you planning a trip to the States in the near future? I'm not sure, Jim. I was there a couple of years ago. I'm debating whether to go to the UK or perhaps America next year. I'm not sure yet which one we'll go to. We will be travelling overseas somewhere, but I'm not quite certain. I'd love to come over the States and meet you guys, though, all of you. So that would be great. I'd love to have a meet up with all of you over there. 95 said, which lens do you use on your A6500? Should I upgrade my A6300 for my second shooter? There's nothing wrong with the A6300. I think, honestly, the quality between them is both Very, very similar. The issues, I suppose, is that the stabilization is a little bit better. So if you're shooting video, it's a little bit better. The touch screen is a big advantage. I use that for rack focus, and that is a really big advantage. Quality-wise, they're no difference. But clearly, I wouldn't be buying an A6-300. I'll be buying the A6-500 if I was buying a new camera now. Just for those features alone, and the buffer is unbelievable in the A6-500 compared to the A6-300. That's one thing I'm looking forward to with the A9, is not having that to wait to view images and stuff like that, because it gets frustrating on the A7R2. I want to chimp quickly and I can't, because you're always waiting for it to write, and that's one of the big issues. Delta Dave said, thinking about going to Melbourne Cup to photograph. Do you know when it runs? Yes, it's November, Dave. Let me know if you do come out here. So if you are out this way, we'll go out and have a shoot, mate. It runs November. It's the first Tuesday in November here, so it's an amazing experience. It's massive here. The whole of Australia basically shuts down for that race. 95 said they have used a 24L Canon for most things. Oh, so you've used the 24L, yeah. And like I said, my favourite lens for the A6-500 is the 24 1.8. I adore that lens, and I love the 18 to 105 as well. They're amazing lenses that I use all the time with mine. Like I said, if you have other questions, guys, once this video is stopped, if you can, leave them down below and I will get back to you. I always answer every question. I'll personally answer everything. So, leave them down below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So is there any other questions before we leave? Please also support the people that are being slammed on YouTube. Like support Danny, who obviously a lot of people were saying he was lying about that situation as well. Give him support for saying what he said. He clearly had an issue with his camera, but there was no reason for him to lie. I think he's just been unlucky, and that just happens with anything that you can buy in technology. Like I said, I was unlucky when I had the Nikon D600. I had to send that back for the oil problem that they had. So you can just be unlucky with any camera. And clearly there's a very small number that are having issues. So I think most of the people out there aren't having issues. And Sony have contacted him to fix it. So, let's give them their credit where that's due. So, support people like that can sort of come out. And like I said earlier, let's stop all this whinging, guys, about gear. Let's get out there and shoot. And the people that do troll people about that, they're clearly not photographers. These people won't have any work to back themselves up. That's why I put what I did the other day online. And if anyone sort of challenges me, I'm just going to say, go look at my work. These people, whenever I challenge them, never ever have work to back it up. So, the best thing to say to these trolls is just show us your work, and they'll shut up straight away because they never have it. Michael said it's just the haters pushing Danny's. Yeah, and it is, Michael, and I agree. And it's just terrible. I feel so much for Danny. He seems to be a real genuine guy. And I hope everything's sorted out for him, and I'm sure it will be. Jim Cadwell said, stop the Sony slamming. Exactly, Jim. Let's just get on with it. There's nothing, it just does my head in. There's nothing wrong with the Sony gear. It's fantastic. And that's why I put my work up the other day to stop these people whinging about saying you can't use it for professional work. No, a professional would use it. What a load of crap. Let's just get on with the shooting, and why do people just keep bashing Sony like they do? I think they're just terrified of it. They're just scared of innovation. Let's just move on and get out there shooting, and let's share the work instead of all sharing all this slamming that's going on, and just protect the people out there that are willing to say something. And, and let's sort of say it as it is, and any trolls, let's just shut them down. So any other questions before we go? I know it's late for you guys overseas. Like I said, hopefully I'll see a few of you on Monday. What I'm doing, I'm dying, keep my fingers crossed that I'll get the camera tomorrow. I'm even hoping I may get some message today saying it's in. I doubt it though. Like I said, I have got a wedding on Saturday. So if I haven't got it tomorrow, I'm not going to be able to use it in that wedding. And then wedding season has stopped now for us here for the next couple of months because it's our winter. So I'll probably have to just shoot the A9 with some model shoots that I've got coming up. So I will do a review of it when I get it, and I'll let you know how it goes. But I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be very, very happy with it. That's about it. So any last questions before we go? If not, I'm going to head off, go and have some lunch and have a coffee. You guys are probably going to go to bed soon. Well, that might be just about it, guys. So let's have a chat, and I'll see you all again next Thursday for the next Sony news and live shoot and what's in my bag. And like I said, if you have any questions, just give me those questions down below and I will get back to you. And that's about it, guys. And thanks for watching, and thanks so much for all the donations, guys. You've got no idea how much I appreciate that. It makes it all so worthwhile. And I'll see you again soon for the next video. Bye.